I'm an OBGYN with endometriosis. And when we hear that term, it sounds scary, but I wanted to clarify some things. So let's dive into it. So the basic explanation for endometriosis is that lining that we shed every single month with our period is found outside of the uterus. It's not inside the uterus, it's outside the uterus. Now, which we've explained in another video, the anatomy of the uterus and the cervix. The cervix is where the blood goes out of, and then it goes out the vagina each month for your period. There are two holes at the top of the uterus. The top of the uterus is called the fundus. And then on the sides, where the fallopian tubes are, that's another point of exit for blood. So that's how that blood, meaning that lining, gets outside of the uterus. So it can be on bowel, bladder, anywhere the tissue can implant, it can go. So how do we diagnose endometriosis? The only way to diagnose is by doing surgery, looking inside, taking a tissue sample, sending it to pathology, and they tell you this is definitively endometriosis. But do I take every patient that I suspect has endometriosis back for surgery? Absolutely not. In patients where I'm suspecting endometriosis, these are the patients who have very painful periods every single time, and it's not relieved by pain medication. It's not relieved by comfort measures such as a heating pad, and they have very painful periods. In addition, they might have GI issues, so very painful bowel movements, especially during the time of their period. If a patient is presenting with painful periods, GI issues, and signs and symptoms that are concerning for endometriosis, I do a trial course of hormonal therapy, typically with birth control pills. And what that does is it quiets the ovaries. It pretty much says, shh, quiet down. And that way, there's less inflammation. Because with endometriosis, every month that you're having a period, there's blood outside of the uterus. So that tissue is actually bleeding, and blood is an irritant. So again, the hormones, it's going to act as something that says shh to the ovaries. So if a patient does have symptoms of endometriosis, the next thing I might do is imaging, the gold standard for OBGYN, ultrasound. So I'll either get a transvaginal ultrasound, meaning an ultrasound down below, or a transabdominal ultrasound. And sometimes I may see what's called a chocolate cyst, or medical term endometrioma. And that just means a cyst filled with blood. If the symptoms are waking a patient up from sleep, meaning alarm symptoms, I will likely take the patient back for surgery to do a diagnostic laparoscopy, which means I'm going to look inside the abdomen with a tiny camera and see if there's anything that I can do to help alleviate those symptoms. If they do have that chocolate cyst, then I'll remove the cyst and leave as much healthy ovary as possible. And then if there are other areas that have endometriosis, those little lesions, I will attempt to remove those as well. If you are diagnosed with endometriosis, your OBGYN may want to start you on hormonal therapy. They may also want to refer you to a reproductive endocrinologist if your goal is to become pregnant. One of the biggest risk factors for endometriosis is infertility. The inflammation, the repetitive inflammation, can cause scar tissue, and scar tissue that's within the fallopian tube. We may refer you to a specialist who can help you with that process and give you the best result for pregnancy. From personal experience, I can tell you that endometriosis can feel scary. It can feel like there aren't enough answers, and that's because there aren't enough answers. I wanted to reassure you that we're here to help you. We're here to answer your questions. And some of the things that I've done for myself is lifestyle changes. So diet and exercise are very important because it helps decrease that inflammation in my body. So I've adopted more of a gluten-free diet. I also exercise, do HIIT training maybe 3 times a week, and then just living an active, healthy lifestyle. If you want to hear more topics like this, then hit that subscribe button.